Some people lose money, others lose love. But me? Well, I lose socks, and I'm starting to believe they're connected. Last Tuesday, I stood in my kitchen holding a single miserable sock. Orphaned, forlorn, probably questioning its entire existence. Its partner? Gone, vanished, not in the machine, not under the bed, not in that mysterious space behind the dryer where chapstick goes to die. Just gone.
What? Like, comment, and subscribe.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so here's what's really bothering me, and my curiosity made me as ridiculous as taking the time to research this. The average person loses 1.3 socks per month. In the UK alone, 84 million socks go missing every month. That's not carelessness. That's a coordinated disappearance of biblical proportions. What the fuck? All right, I have absolutely no clue how that stat came about, but I'm sure 1 in every 2 listening to this can relate. So you got the point. But what if this isn't really about socks at all? All right, so picture this. It's Sunday morning. You're standing in front of your washing machine like a detective at a crime scene, methodically counting socks. 2 blue little things, check. 2 black dress socks, check. 2 white cotton casualties from your gym habit, check. You close the lid with the confidence of someone who has never been betrayed by household appliances, and 43 minutes later, you open the lid to discover you've been played.
Roger, Charlie, we're ready to rock.
The blue socks are now blue, singular, solitary, staring up at you with what can only be described as sock depression. This is the moment you realize socks are serious monogamists. They arrive in committed pairs, snuggled together in their packaging like they found their soulmate. They weather first dates in new shoes, survive awkward family dinners, endure sweaty gym sessions together. They're inseparable. Until one day, without warning, without a note, without so much so as a passive-aggressive text, one just bails.
Excuse you.
And here's the truly maddening part. It's never both socks. If socks were genuinely accidental casualties of the laundry process, you'd occasionally lose entire pairs. But no, the universe has a sixth sense of humor that specifically targets relationships. It's like cosmic couples therapy gone wrong.
We request that everybody stays calm at the current moment, for there is a zombie apocalypse currently happening on the West Coast. Do stay inside and do not go out under any circumstances.
All right, so welcome to what I call the laundry Bermuda Triangle. Hang in there. That mysterious zone between closing the washer door and opening the dryer. It's the only place on earth where the laws of conservation of mass take a coffee break. You load the machine with mathematical precision. You've counted, you've sorted, you've even done that neurotic double check where you lift each item individually. But the moment that lid closes, physics ceases to apply. Somewhere between the agitation cycle and the spin cycle, reality develops a glitch. Scientists will tell you it's impossible for matter to simply vanish. Conservation of mass is one of the fundamental laws of the universe. But clearly, these scientists don't do their own laundry because every week, millions of people worldwide participate in the same ritual. Loading complete pairs and extracting singles. It's like a magic trick performed by sadistic appliances. The washing machine sits there afterward, humming innocently as if it hasn't just violated everything we learned in high school chemistry. You want to interrogate it. Where is it? What did you do with my sock? I trusted you with a pair and now you're returning damaged goods. But the machine just sits there, maintaining its alibi of mechanical innocence.
Oh my God.
All right, now let's play detective. The usual suspects in the case of the vanishing sock. Suspect 1, the mechanical gap defense. Washing machines have small gaps around the drum where socks can slip through and get trapped in the outer tub. It's like the sock equivalent of falling through a crack in the sidewalk, except the sidewalk is trying to clean you. Suspect 2, the static cling conspiracy. Static electricity causes socks to stick inside pillowcases, bed sheets, or other clothing. Your sock isn't missing. It's just hitchhiking inside your duvet cover like a textile stowaway. Suspect 3, the lint disintegration theory. Some socks, particularly older or cheaper ones, literally disintegrate in the wash. They don't disappear. They become part of the lint. Your missing sock didn't vanish. It achieved a higher state of being as drier fuzz. Suspect 4, the human error plea. You miscounted. You dropped something on the way to the machine. You left a sock in the hamper. Basic human incompetence masquerading as mystery. You see, these explanations are presented with the confidence of a defense attorney who's absolutely convinced their client is guilty but needs to perform the ritual of reasonable doubt anyway. They're technically plausible, scientifically sound, and should satisfy our need for closure, right? But here's the thing that kind of drives me wild. Even when you know the logical reason, you still feel robbed. So let's say you find your missing sock 6 months later, wrapped around the agitator in your washing machine like it's been held hostage. You should feel vindicated. The mystery is solved, physics makes sense again, but instead you feel nothing. No satisfaction, no closure, no sense that justice has been served. If anything, you feel slightly disappointed that the universe turned out to be less magical than you hoped. And this is what I call the illusion of closure. We think rational explanations will make us feel better about loss, but they don't. Knowing why something disappeared doesn't undo the feeling of having been abandoned by it.
Oui. Ouais.
All right, enough about socks, because this pattern shows up everywhere in real life. A friendship slowly drifts apart, and you can explain it rationally. Different life stages, changing priorities, geographical distance, all perfectly logical. But the explanation doesn't heal the quiet hurt of realizing someone who used to text you daily hasn't contacted you in months. A career opportunity vanishes, and there are perfectly good reasons. Budget cuts, internal politics, market conditions. The explanation doesn't soften the sting of wondering what if, or the frustration of feeling like you've been cheated out of a future you could almost taste. You wake up one day and realize you haven't thought about the novel you were going to write, that language you were going to learn, that trip you were going to take. There are rational explanations. Life got busy, priorities shifted, circumstances changed. But rationality doesn't address the melancholy of recognizing that some version of yourself, the version that was excited about those possibilities, has quietly vanished without ceremony. We cling to rational explanations like they're emotional bandages, but they're more like autopsies. They tell us how something died, not how to feel better about losing it. Now, here's what makes missing socks so psychologically devastating. They're absurd because they're tiny. A missing car? Well, that's theft. That's insurance claims. That's rational panic. A missing sock? That's just Tuesday. But it's exactly the tiny things that unsettle us the most. Think about the last time you felt genuinely discombobulated by a small loss. Maybe it was the pen you'd been using for months, the one that fit your hand just right, that never skipped, that had become an extension of your thoughts. One day, it wasn't in your bag, wasn't on your desk, wasn't anywhere. And for some inexplicable reason, this felt more tragic than it had any right to. Or that cafe that closed overnight. You didn't go there every day, maybe not even every week, but knowing it existed, knowing you could go there for that specific sandwich they made exactly how you liked it, well, that knowledge was a small comfort you didn't realize you were carrying until it was gone.
What the hell are you talking about?
We are walking around carrying an invisible collection of micro losses that we never properly cataloged. The person you used to see at the bus stop every morning for 3 years who one day just wasn't there anymore. You didn't know their name, never had a conversation, but their absence created a tiny gap in the rhythm of your day. The notification sound your phone used to make before you updated the software, the route home that got blocked by construction, forcing you to discover that you'd grown attached to passing that one house with the ridiculous garden gnome collection. These aren't meaningful losses in any objective sense. They're the emotional equivalent of missing socks. Small, replaceable, logically insignificant, but they accumulate like sediment, creating an archaeology of tiny griefs that we carry without even noticing. Now, here's the thing that will mess with your head. Sometimes the sock isn't actually missing, it's just not where you expect it to be. You spend 20 minutes tearing apart your bedroom looking for that one sock, convinced it's vanished into the ether. Then, 3 days later, you find it in the kitchen somehow. It was never lost. It was just displaced, existing in a reality that didn't match your mental map of where socks belong. This is the most unsettling discovery of all, because it reveals how much of our emotional distress comes not from actual loss, but from things being in unexpected places. Your life isn't falling apart. It's just reorganized in ways you didn't anticipate.
Thank you so much.
So maybe that friend who disappeared didn't vanish. They just moved to a different social circle that doesn't intersect with yours. Maybe that opportunity didn't evaporate. It relocated to a different industry, a different city, a different moment in time. Maybe that version of yourself you think you lost, the one who was excited about art, music, adventure, isn't gone. It's just in a different drawer, waiting to be rediscovered.
Sneaky turtle.
We create elaborate mental filing systems for how life should be organized. Friends belong in this category. Career opportunities live in that folder. Personal growth happens in these specific contexts. But life doesn't respect our organizational schemes. It puts things wherever it wants, whenever it wants, often in places that make no logical sense. The tragedy isn't that we lose things. The tragedy is that we're so attached to our filing system that we can't recognize the same things when they show up in different categories. We mourn the missing sock while wearing mismatched pairs that might actually look better than anything we originally planned. All right, so let's talk a little bit about those sock gnomes. Not because I believe in them, though honestly the evidence is compelling, but because they represent something important about how we cope with life's inexplicable redistribution of resources. Sock gnomes aren't malicious. They're not stealing your socks to hurt you. They're chaos agents operating on a cosmic scale we can't comprehend, moving things from where we put them to where we think they should be. The sock gnome theory suggests that somewhere in your house, there's a tiny creature going,
You know what? This person has too many matching socks. This is creating an unhealthy dependence on symmetry. I'm going to help them practice adaptability.
Or let's consider this parallel universes. Right now, in some alternate dimension, there's another version of you opening their dryer to discover three extra socks that don't belong to anyone in their household. They're standing there equally confused, holding a striped tube sock and wondering, where did this come from? I don't own striped socks. I hate stripes. While you're mourning your missing object, alternate universe you is dealing with mysterious sock abundance. You're both experiencing the same phenomenon from opposite sides. A cosmic sock exchange program that operates without anyone's consent or understanding. This theory is oddly comforting because it suggests that nothing is actually lost, just redistributed. Your socks isn't gone. It's just living its best life in someone else's reality. Meanwhile, you're unknowingly providing sanctuary for someone else's displaced footwear. But now here's my favorite theory. Maybe socks leave because they're tired of the repetitive cycle. Think about it from the sock's perspective. You spend your entire existence going from drawer to foot to hamper to washing machine to dryer and back to drawer. Wash, dry, repeat, wash, dry, repeat. It's the textile equivalent of Groundhog Day, except there's no Bill Murray and no possibility of personal growth. After months of this routine, wouldn't you want to escape? Wouldn't you start fantasizing about a life where you're not defined by your relationship to another sock, where you can explore the world beyond the confines of someone's shoe. Maybe missing socks are just experiencing what humans call burnout. They're tired of the routine, exhausted by the predictability, desperate for adventure. So they make a break for it. They slip through a crack in the washing machine and start a new life behind the water heater, finally free to pursue their dreams of becoming dust bunnies or insulation. This resonates because we've all felt like that sock, trapped in cycles that feel necessary but soul crushing. Wash, work, sleep, repeat, commute, meetings, commute, repeat. We fantasize about disappearing, about slipping through the cracks of our responsibilities and emerging somewhere unexpected, somewhere we can finally breathe. The difference is, we usually don't have the courage to actually disappear. We stay in the drawer, paired with the same sock, following the same routine, because disappearing feels too risky, too irresponsible, and too likely to hurt the people who depend on our predictability. But part of us admires the missing sock's audacity. Part of us whispers, "Good for you. I hope you found whatever you were looking for."
Unusual practice, breaking the mold, lighting up.
The uncomfortable truth that missing socks teaches us is that no matter how organized you are, no matter how carefully you plan, no matter how precisely you execute, the universe will take its cut. You can buy the most expensive washing machine, implement foolproof sorting systems, use mesh laundry bags, and count everything twice. The universe doesn't give a damn. It will still find a way to remind you that control is an illusion and that your carefully maintained order is just a temporary arrangement it's willing to tolerate. This is not punishment. It's not personal. It's just the universe's way of collecting a tax on the hubris of thinking you can keep everything exactly where you put it. Consider it a cosmic service fee for the privilege of believing, however briefly, that you're in charge of your possession.
Unusual practice, breaking the mold, lighting up pathways, both new and old.
The real question isn't whether you lose things, because you will. The question is, will you obsess over what's missing or find ways to enjoy what remains? Every morning, you have a choice. You can stand in front of your sock drawer conducting an inventory of absent partners, cataloging your losses, mourning the matches that will never be made. Or you can grab whatever's available and get on with your day. This choice extends far beyond footwear. You can spend your dinner party apologizing for the dish that didn't turn out right, or you can enjoy the conversation with the people who showed up. You can fixate on the career move that did not happen, or you can get curious about the path you're actually on. You can mourn the friend who disappeared from your life, or you can appreciate the friends who are still returning your calls. Mismatched socks are a quiet rebellion against perfectionism. They're proof that you prioritized function over aesthetics, progress over polish. They announce to the world, this person has more important things to think about than sock coordination. There's something beautifully subversive about walking through your day wearing one navy sock and one black sock, secure in the knowledge that most people won't even notice, and the few who do probably aren't worth impressing anyway. It's a tiny act of defiance against a culture that profits from your insecurity about not having everything perfectly matched. Every mismatched pair is a small victory for practicality over perfectionism. You chose to leave the house rather than spend 20 minutes searching for the right sock. You chose progress over paralysis. You chose to be fully dressed and slightly imperfect rather than perfectly coordinated and perpetually late.
Yeah, baby.
So what if the missing sock isn't the problem? What if the problem is our belief that matching is mandatory? Somewhere along the way, we internalized the idea that paired things are superior to single things, that matching is more valuable than mixing, that symmetry is the goal and everything else is settling. But what and who actually made that rule? Who decided that two identical socks are inherently better than two different socks that serve the same function? Maybe the universe is doing us a favor by forcing us to confront our arbitrary attachment to matching. Maybe it's teaching us that diversity is more interesting than uniformity, that combinations we never could have chosen can turn out to be surprisingly effective. So here's where we land. Maybe the sock was never lost. Maybe it was just on its own journey. And maybe you are too. Maybe all those things you think you've lost, the opportunities, the connections, the versions of yourself aren't gone. Maybe they're just living in a different dimension of your life, waiting to be rediscovered when you're ready to look in unexpected places. Maybe they're paired with different opportunities, creating combinations you never could have planned, but that work better than anything you originally imagined. The missing sock teaches us that loss and discovery are the same process viewed from different angles. What disappears from one context often reappears in another, changed by its journey, but fundamentally still useful, still valuable, and still yours in some essential way. I want to hear from you guys about life's missing sock moments, not just laundry related, but any little disappearance that left a dent. The song you can't find that perfectly captured how you felt at 17, that restaurant that closed just when you'd figured out your irregular order, the conversation you wish you'd had with someone before they moved away. Send me your stories about the small things that vanished without explanation and how you learned to live with the absence, or how you found them again in places you never thought to look. Email me at practicecharli@gmail.com. It's in the description, or find me on social media at unusualpractice.up on TikTok. I'm collecting evidence that we're all just walking around in mismatched lives, trying to make sense of what stays and what goes. Until then, this was Charlie, and the next time you find yourself holding a single sock, don't immediately start searching for its partner. Take a moment to appreciate it for what it is. Proof that you live a life full enough to occasionally lose track of things, messy enough to be interesting, and resilient enough to keep moving forward even when you can't find a perfect match. Your sock drawer isn't a failure of organization. It's a testament to your willingness to prioritize living over matching. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of person the world needs more of. So keep your socks mismatched and your expectations flexible, and I'll talk to you next week.
Mom, somebody just followed me.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.